This grandmother is a real-life horror story. In July 2015, St. Petersburg, Russia, was rocked by a chilling discovery: garbage bags containing human remains. What followed was the shocking confession of Tamara Samsonova, a seemingly harmless 68-year-old woman who turned out to be a serial killer and possibly a cannibal. Today, you'll find out how this mild-looking grandmother earned the terrifying titles of the Granny Ripper and Baba Yaga. What drove her to commit such horrifying crimes? And how did she manage to evade suspicion for years? Stay tuned as we unravel the dark secrets of one of Russia's most infamous killers. In July 2015, St. Petersburg, Russia, became the scene of a gruesome discovery. A foul odor was reported from a vacant lot, and firefighters were dispatched. Upon arriving, the stench was so overwhelming that they initially thought it might be the remains of an animal. But upon closer inspection, they found 7 black garbage bags emitting the unbearable odor. One firefighter, with some hesitation, opened one of the bags. His face turned white, and with shock in his eyes, he told his partner what they had found. It was a human body. Shaken by the discovery, the authorities were called in, and within minutes, the police arrived. Upon further investigation, they found that the remains were of an elderly woman with the limbs divided among the bags. Scouring the area, they noticed a surveillance camera nearby. They quickly asked the establishment's owner for footage from the previous days. Fortunately, the camera had been working. What they saw on the footage left them stunned. An elderly woman hauling the garbage bags between 2:21 a.m. and 3:54 a.m. on Saturday, July 25th. After disposing of the bags, she walked off in another direction. The cameras tracked her movements, showing the path she took. A blood trail leading to nearby apartments was soon discovered. As the police canvassed the area, they started asking residents if they knew of any elderly women in the vicinity. 2 names surfaced almost immediately: a 79-year-old named Valentina and her companion, Tamara Samsonova, aged 68. The police knocked on the apartment door where the 2 women lived, and it was Tamara who answered. She simply nodded and said, "It was me." That unexpected confession left the officers in shock. She then invited them inside. Inside the apartment, an initial examination revealed evidence of the crime. In the bathroom, saws and knives, still stained with dried blood, were found. But the worst was yet to be uncovered. Noticing pieces of aluminum foil scattered around, the police feared the worst. One officer opened the refrigerator and, as suspected, found body parts wrapped in foil. The discovery left everyone present speechless. After the grim discovery, Russia's investigative committee was called to handle the case due to its severity. During initial questioning, Tamara did not retract her confession, insisting that she acted alone and that no one had assisted her. After a heated argument, Tamara made the decision to part ways with Valentina. She was never asked whether she had eaten parts of the victim, and she chose to remain silent, leaving many questions unanswered. When the investigation committee arrived, she was promptly arrested. Throughout the ordeal, she remained calm and even smiled, blowing kisses to the crowd of onlookers gathered at the scene. All she managed to say was, "What a shame, now all the neighbors will know. What will they think of me?" The Russian media initially labeled the case the Nightmare on Dimitrova Street, named after the street where the crime occurred. The suspect, 68-year-old Tamara Samsonova, was apprehended on July 28, 2015. The public was in shock, as such crimes are extremely rare, if not unheard of. The elderly woman, standing at 1.60 meters, with a slim frame, kind eyes, and shoulder-length brown hair, initially seemed like someone who would inspire trust and compassion. Some of the neighbors described her as kind-hearted, always willing to help others, though they also admitted she had a peculiar side. When the news of the crime broke, one of Valentina's friends in an interview expressed shock, but noted that it wasn't entirely surprising. Tamara had always been seen as somewhat odd, deceitful, and suspicious by many. The friend recounted that after not hearing from Valentina for several days, she had asked Tamara about her whereabouts. Tamara grew nervous, grabbed her by the arm, and begged her not to involve the police. The friend could never have imagined encountering such a nightmare, which is what truly stunned her. In her confession, Tamara told investigators that she had killed Valentina Ulanova following an argument over dirty dishes and unwashed cups. The fight had been intense, and Valentina had asked Tamara to leave, as she had only been staying with her temporarily while her apartment was being remodeled. Valentina had offered to host Tamara in exchange for help with household chores, but when the renovations were completed, Valentina told her she needed to move out. Tamara refused to leave, and their relationship began to deteriorate. On July 25th, after a heated exchange, Tamara decided to end Valentina's life. Tamara put approximately 50 sleeping pills into Valentina's favorite dish, a Russian salad known as Olivier salad. Since Valentina loved the dish, she ate it without hesitation. Afterward, Tamara went to bed, and at around 2 a.m. she found Valentina collapsed on the kitchen floor. Valentina was still alive, with faint signs of life, but Tamara proceeded to dismember her, starting with the head, which she boiled in a pot. She then cut off the limbs and gradually disposed of them. During this time, the building's surveillance cameras captured footage of Tamara carrying the garbage bags to the vacant lot. In the same footage, she is also seen taking a pot downstairs and returning without it. The video quickly spread online, going viral within moments. Later, Tamara mentioned that she had set aside some of Valentina's organs for eating. She boiled the head to extract what she could, then carried the pot, covered with a dish towel, to the vacant lot, where she placed it inside a bag. She confessed that she had appreciated Valentina, which is why she hadn't eaten her earlier, but after the fight over the dishes, she could no longer tolerate her. She thought she could continue living in the apartment for a few months before anyone noticed Valentina's disappearance. The gruesome confession only deepened. Tamara revealed that she hadn't eaten Valentina's breast because it was too flabby, saying she preferred the firmer texture of a previous victim, a young girl she had consumed years ago. After disposing of the 7 bags, she returned to her apartment, took pieces of Valentina's liver, and ate them. She noted that despite Valentina's age, her liver was in good condition since she didn't drink alcohol. The investigators were horrified by Tamara's statements, which she made without a trace of remorse. During a thorough search of the apartment, authorities discovered books on esoteric rituals and black magic.
Do you want to play poker fully anonymous from anywhere in the world? Whether you're in the USA, Canada, China, or beyond, join Free Roll Hunter on Club GG Poker. Enjoy fast deposits and withdrawals in crypto. Dive into a variety of games including NL Hold'em, PLO5, Omaha, and more. Take advantage of our great Rakeback program to boost your earnings. Don't miss our daily tournaments for a chance to win big. Click the link in the pinned comments and description to start playing today.
Tamara had a fascination with astrology. Additionally, they discovered a diary in her possession, written in her own handwriting. The diary contained entries in German, Russian, and English, where she confessed to taking her friend's life, dismembering her, and disposing of the body parts in plastic bags throughout various areas of the Frunzensky district. But that was just the beginning. She also described a series of grotesque and chilling events in which she detailed consuming the flesh, organs, eyes, and tongues of at least 11 people, including her own husband. Her favorite, she claimed, were the lungs. Alongside these confessions, she had sketched out detailed drawings of how she dismembered her victims and how she savored their flesh at different meals. In many sections of the diary, she talked about her mundane, uneventful daily life, which she found dull and unstimulating. She also recounted the murder of one of her tenants using the same method. After killing him, she also ate him, particularly enjoying his lungs. When confronted about the diary's contents, she affirmed that everything was true, but claimed she was under the influence of someone else. When asked about her husband, she admitted that in 2005 she had stabbed him to death while he slept. She then dismembered him with a chainsaw, ate his private parts, and scattered the rest of his body throughout the neighborhood in garbage bags. His body was never recovered, and she had simply told her neighbors that he had left her for another woman. As the investigation progressed, the police attempted to link several cases where bodies had been discovered in similar conditions. They managed to identify a man whose dismembered body, missing its arms and legs, was found in 2003. When searching Tamara's belongings, they found a blood-stained business card that belonged to this man. In August of that year, an attempt was made to locate the victim's head, but it was never found. Nor were his hands or internal organs recovered. Investigators suspected that Tamara may have eaten the head, explaining its absence. After thoroughly analyzing the diary, it was concluded that if everything written was accurate, at least 11 people had fallen victim to Tamara. However, due to the lack of evidence for each case, she could not be convicted of all of them. As she stood in the courthouse awaiting her hearing, she smiled at the cameras and occasionally blew kisses at the reporters, saying, "I knew you'd come. This is a disgrace for me. Now the whole city will know. I've been tormented by a maniac who forced me to kill." Upon being escorted into the courthouse, Tamara clapped and smiled, seemingly delighted to be there. She told the judge that she was prepared for the trial and mentioned that all of her actions had been deliberate. She claimed that with the last murder, she had brought her story to a close. She added that, being elderly and homeless, she had made up her mind after considering her options 77 times, concluding that she should be imprisoned and eventually die there, to be buried by the state. The start of her trial generated a great deal of public attention and media frenzy, with the proceedings being broadcast live. The prosecutor argued that, given her mental state, the elderly woman posed a serious threat to society. A psychiatrist concurred, warning that there was a significant risk of her killing again. At the trial's conclusion, she was sentenced to confinement in a psychiatric hospital. On November 26th of that year, Tamara underwent a psychiatric evaluation, which determined that she was a danger to both herself and others. Tamara was eventually sent to a psychiatric hospital in Kazan for treatment. She expressed a deep admiration and fascination for Andrei Chikatilo, being drawn to his story and the acts he committed. Tamara Samsonova was born on April 25, 1947, in Krasnoyarsk Krai, Russia, to alcoholic parents who were survivors of World War II. Over time, they managed to establish some connections with the government, which allowed them to lead a relatively average lifestyle. Tamara's childhood appeared to be completely normal. However, she vividly recalled her parents telling her horrifying stories about how the people of St. Petersburg had to resort to eating rats, dogs, and cats to survive. From an early age, Tamara showed a great intellectual aptitude and a deep love for literature. After completing high school, she moved to Moscow with the goal of studying languages. She was admitted to the State University of Linguistics, where she mastered 3 languages and graduated with honors. Upon completing her studies, Tamara relocated to St. Petersburg, where she met Alec, the man she would later marry in 1971. The couple settled into a newly constructed building at 4 Dimitrova Street. During this time, Tamara took on various jobs. She worked at a travel agency, provided private language lessons, and later secured a position at the Grand Hotel Europa, where she remained employed for about 16 years. Over time, her behavior shifted from normal to increasingly strange, and she was hospitalized 3 separate times in psychiatric institutions where she was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. Later, her husband disappeared without a trace. Following his disappearance, Tamara decided to rent out a room in her apartment. On September 6, 2003, she killed a 44-year-old tenant during an argument. This incident was recorded in her diary. In March 2015, she met Valentina Ulanova, the last victim whose death ultimately led to her being discovered. A friend of Valentina's had asked Tamara if she could temporarily stay with her while renovations were being done on her own apartment. Shortly after, the sequence of events mentioned at the beginning of this video unfolded. To this day, the exact number of Tamara's victims remains uncertain. She is currently under investigation for 14 murders, and it has been confirmed that she practiced cannibalism with most of her victims. Her frail and seemingly kind demeanor never raised any suspicions. Today, she is infamously known as both the Grandma Ripper and Baba Yaga, a character from Russian mythology, described as an old, bony woman with a pointed nose and sharp teeth. A cruel, yet not entirely evil being who devours human flesh for pleasure. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Cases like this are featured every week.